we give a quick recap on what happened last weekend on the NBA because there was a lot of stories that happened this weekend, and one of the takeaways that I took from this weekend was I predicted the matchup of the week. If you guys remember, on Friday I said that the Lakers versus the Pelicans game was going to be the best matchup of the week because the rest of the games they ended in blowouts like the previous week before. And hold on, I'm just making sure. Yep, my microphone's on. All right. And with that in mind, I ended up being right. And the Pelicans and Lakers matchup, it was amazing. Throughout most of the first quarter, both teams shot 70% from the field. And yeah, there was no defense being played all day on either side, which is honestly very concerning for the Lakers and very concerning for the Pelicans because the Pelicans, when they were playing the Clippers, it looked like they were playing with much more urgency on the defensive end. Like they were actually like afraid of the Clippers and their offense. Going into this game, they sort of played a little bit lazy. And I found that a little bit odd. And I found Zion's defense surprisingly lazy. Like I know the jokes around him is that he's lazy, but like I didn't expect it was this lazy on the defensive end. It was really bad. Like he was allowing so many open looks from the corner three because he didn't want to close out. He was allowing so many open looks in the paint, and a lot of the Pelicans players were allowing a lot of open looks in the paint. There was really bad defense on the Pelicans. Now, as for the Lakers, the defense picked up in the second half, but it was really difficult to stop Zion in the paint and like all the attention that he was bringing to the paint. It was really bad game defensively, and as a result, it was a really good game offensively. In fact, the defense was so bad that it caused Los Angeles to break records. So the Lakers set I'm just looking at it right now. The Lakers set a franchise record for most points scored at the half with 87, and this is also the first Lakers squad since 1984 to have all 5 starters and with 20-plus points. So that just goes to show you how bad the defense was. The fact that every single Lakers starter, D'Lo, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Roy Hachimura, they all ended with 20-plus points. D'Lo, he probably deserves like the biggest apology letter from Lakers fans from all over the place. Before he was involved in trade talks, he was not playing the best basketball that he could. But once he got put into trade talks, he just took off. He turned into Michael Jordan. He ended the game with 30 points, and there was one stretch in the second quarter where he scored 14 straight points to help give the Lakers the lead. Austin Reeves also had a great night with 27 points. Ironically, LeBron and Anthony Davis ended up scoring the fewest amount of points in the starting lineup. I in the previous podcast, I said that LeBron and Anthony Davis, they needed a big game, but the rest of the starters ended up doing their part. And once they ended up doing their part, they didn't need a big game from LeBron and Anthony Davis. LeBron had 21 and also tallied 14 assists. Obviously, that's what you get when your teammates end up making shots. Anthony Davis ended the game with 20 points, and finally, Darvin Ham is using his coaching knowledge, and he's putting Roy in the starting lineup. I'm so proud of what he's doing. He's playing phenomenally right now. Like, ever since he got put in the starting lineup, the Lakers have been playing a lot better basketball, and they've been winning a lot more games. So, props to Darvin Ham for actually making an adjustment. Unlike some other coaches, which I will get to in a second. And this was very good. This was very smart. I like the adjustments to the bad defense. Towards in the middle of the game, like towards the half, the Lakers, going into the half, the Lakers sort of realized that the paint defense from the Pelicans, it wasn't that strong. So instead of taking a bunch of three-pointers to open up the second half, they decide to attack the paint. And because of that, they ended up getting much better looks in the paint, and that caused them to go on a run and eventually win the game in the end. They didn't try to force that many threes, and they kept getting easy looks inside. So now on the Pelicans side, Zion ended with 30 points. Brandon Ingram also ended with 22. This Pelican squad beat the Clippers, but they got absolutely owned by the Lakers. So it's a weird rock, paper, scissors because, the Clippers beat the Lakers beat the Pelicans beat the Clippers, but they can't beat the Lakers. Rock, paper, scissors. We know how that works. It's a bit confusing to, figure out where the Pelicans rank, and whether they're just going to be a one-and-done team, whether they're going to be a second rounder, or whether they have a chance to make it all the way. I personally, depending on the matchups, most of the time, I think they are going to be a first-round team. They are not going to do much in the first round, depending on the matchups. Now, if they get a good matchup in their favor, let's say maybe Phoenix with their lack of defense, then maybe they could make it far and they could make it to the second round. But if they end up matching up against and even the Clippers, if they end up matching up against the Clippers, I feel like they have a chance of winning the series because for some reason the Pelicans play some of their best basketball going up against the Clippers. But going up against any other team that's really dominant in the paint, like the Nuggets, that's almost a death sentence if they match up against the Nuggets. Or maybe if they match up against OKC as well with Chet Holmgren and his height. So with that in mind, if they were to match up against OKC or if they were to match up against the Nuggets, I think that's their death sentence. And even the Timberwolves, if they match up against any of those teams, that's their death sentence. But if they match up against Phoenix, I think they have a much better chance. Same with the Clippers, only because they just somehow play a lot better against the Clippers. It's weird, but they're 11-4 against the Clippers in their last few games. So. And the Clippers have been a much better team than the Pelicans within that span. Because within that span, there are times where Zion would miss some of the games. So I definitely think that it's going to be down to matchups for the Pelicans if they want to make a deep playoff run. And it's starting to look like, on the Lakers side, it's starting to look like they figured it out. And that wasn't the only news for the Lakers. Rob Pelinka was sitting next to Spencer Dinwiddie in that game, and right when I saw that, I was like, oh, the Lakers are going to pick up Spencer Dinwiddie. And they ended up doing that. He ended up Spencer Dinwiddie ended up clearing waivers, and the Lakers decided to sign him for, I forgot exactly the details of the signing, but they have him for 1 year. And I think this is a great pickup for the Lakers. They didn't do anything in the trade deadline, so they didn't need to lose any of the pieces that they have. They did not have to trade D'Lo. As you know, I think Austin Reeves is a little overrated, so I wouldn't have minded if they traded him. But D'Lo was really the important piece that I didn't want to be traded, given how he was playing. So the fact that they added D'Angelo Russell's former teammate from the Brooklyn Nets, I think that's great for the chemistry on the team, and it also provides a lot more spacing because Spencer can shoot threes. He's not like a laser three-point shooter, but he's a great shot maker, and he's definitely a great piece for the Lakers. And he can isolate with the ball as well. He can create shots for himself, and he can create shots for the team, which in turn is what the Lakers need when LeBron is sitting out, and if D'Lo or Austin Reeves aren't having the best of games. But this is a great move. Now, as a Nets fan, I'm a little bit bitter because I liked both of those players when they played for the Nets, but especially since we just got Spencer Dinwiddie back last year, so I'm a little bit sad to see him go. But I guess it was for the best, and that's basically those are the news. That's the news that happened throughout the Lakers game. Bad defense from the Pelicans, bad defense from the Lakers. What does this mean for the Lakers moving forward? It's really difficult to say because this Lakers lineup, it just did something historical against bad defense. So what happens when you put them up against a team with good defense and the rest of the starters aren't doing something historical? Because it just so happened that everybody was on that night. It just so happened. So with that and their inconsistencies in mind, it's very difficult to figure out where to rank these Lakers, given how they've played and given their performances in some of these recent games. Because like they're back and forth. It's like LeBron said, at one point it looks like that they can beat any team in the league, and then at other points it looks like they could lose to the worst team in the league. So with these inconsistencies in mind, hopefully after the All-Star break, they'll finally get their rotation. Darvin Ham will finally get his rotations down. The players are finally going to step up to the moment. The players are going to be a lot more consistent, because that's ultimately what LeBron and Anthony Davis need. They need consistency from their three-point shooters, from their floor spacers. They absolutely need that. In more recent news, the Warriors played the Phoenix Suns and did not disappoint in the matchups whatsoever. They played on Saturday, I believe. And there were a lot of narratives going into this game. And the first narrative and the most recent narrative was how this was Draymond Green's first matchup against Jusuf Nurkic after he got suspended. So just to refresh everybody's mind, Draymond Green went into an indefinite suspension. It ended up being around 12 games because he punched Jusuf Nurkic in the face. So, of course, he didn't learn from his mistakes, and they were still chippy to each other. There was one point where Jusuf Nurkic smacked the ground, just straight up smacked the ground, saying that Draymond Green was too small. And then Draymond retaliated on the other end by smacking the ground himself after he scored, saying that Jusuf was actually too small. So there was a lot of beef going on in this game, and it was very exciting to watch. And Nurkic also had a lot to say for after Draymond Green. He said, quote, he didn't learn anything. So in reference to his suspension, saying that he didn't learn anything and he still has some anger problems and whatnot. But Draymond, obviously, like, he doesn't care. That's just the type of player that Draymond is. He's going to try to get under your skin, especially if you're disrespecting him like that. Like, how did you expect him to react? How on earth did you expect him to react after you smack the floor and call him small? How else do you expect a player to react? It's like they're going to react, and like they're going to get fired up. But that's one of the narratives. Like, I love Draymond, and he's not going to change just because of some suspension. But Nurkic, like, that's why they have him. Nurkic, like, lives in his head rent free, and that sort of threw him off of his game. That's what Draymond is supposed to do. He tries to throw other players off from their game, because that's the impact that he brings on the defensive end, as well as like just the impact that he brings to Golden State. And not to mention his playmaking ability and his mentoring, and how it's rubbing off of Kuminga, and Kuminga's decision making has improved tremendously. So another narrative, and the more iconic narrative, is the fact that Kevin Durant and the big three of Steph Curry, Clay, and Draymond Green, they used to be teammates. It was the old big three versus KD's new big three. And to go along with that narrative, Draymond and Kevin Durant also have beef from their time on Golden State. And it's not to mention how Draymond actually said allegedly said to Kevin Durant, "We don't need you. Leave." In 2018, when towards the end of the stint of Kevin Durant's stint in Golden State, because the chemistry was sort of like, it wasn't really there in 2018, and KD and Draymond got into a little bit of an argument, and Draymond allegedly said this to Kevin Durant. So with that in mind, there's a lot of bad blood between Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. Draymond Green doesn't necessarily respect KD the way that KD believes he should be respected, because going to Golden State, the reason why Kevin Durant went to Golden State was because he wanted respect, and he thought he was going to get respect by winning rings. It's just the team that he played for, the team that beat him 3-1 in the playoffs, that was just going to make him lose respect from a lot of fans, because he's joining the team that beat him. That is a very, very weak move. One of the weakest moves that the NBA has seen. And his rings, therefore, like, according to the rest of the media, his rings sort of like don't matter as much as other people's rings matter, according to the media. And to add insult to injury, the Golden State Warriors ended up winning a title without him when he left, further proving that they really did not need him in the postseason to go on those runs. But enough about the narrative. Let's talk about the actual game itself. Curry ended the game with 30 points. Kuminga had 21, and Draymond Green had 15. Klay Thompson, once again, he was quiet this game, only scoring 5 points, going 2 for 10 and 1 for 7 from 3. He might be a splash brother, but right now he was playing like a trash brother. My bad, I digress. But he's been playing really bad. He's been really bad recently, and it's sort of the reason why a lot of Golden State fans and a lot of Warriors fans wanted him to be traded, because he's not doing his job. He's not playing like the splash brother that we've all feared. This excuse me, this is not the same Klay Thompson that could make 10 straight threes in a row and have the defense guessing, how do we stop that? It's not the same. And it should be noted that Curry ended the game with a game-winning 3. And I as a LeBron fan, I always say that Steph Curry isn't clutch. But I usually say that he's not clutch in the postseason. I will say that he is clutch in the regular season, and he has definitely improved on hitting way more clutch shots this season and previous seasons than he has in his entire career. He's definitely gotten better and is definitely trying to put an end to the Steph Curry is not clutch narrative. But it also should be noted that while Curry hit the game-winning shot, Draymond was actually the one to close it out, because there was still some time left on that clock. And I believe there was I'm just checking right now. Yeah, there was about 3 seconds or 2 seconds left on the clock and that was enough time for KD or anybody to get a shot off. But Draymond Green denied Kevin Durant the ball completely and therefore couldn't get the shot off. Golden State ended up winning the game. So it was a combined effort from Stephen Curry and Draymond Green that ended up marking the success for Golden State in this game. Golden State right now is on, I believe, they're on a 4-game winning streak, and they hold the 10th spot and a spot in the play-in. So they finally passed the Utah Jazz, like I said that they would, and they're in that play-in spot. But the team still has the ability to turn around. They still have the ability to turn it around. If Klay Thompson can find his stroke, can find his jump shot, and starts hitting right away, they could definitely turn the season around, and they could probably make a deep run. But there's no telling when he'll find his jump shot, given how bad he's been playing recently. But it's definitely a possibility. Both play-in teams, the Lakers and the Warriors, they're starting to look a little bit dangerous. I will say Golden State is looking much more dangerous than the Lakers. I know the Lakers, they just broke records, but that is like a one in a million thing, and they definitely got lucky with how bad the defense was on the Pelicans. And not only that, here's an interesting stat that I found. The Warriors are plus 27 when Steph is on the court, and they're plus 35 with Steph off the court. If you're Golden State, that's really good, because it shows that you don't necessarily have to rely on Steph Curry to lead you the entirety of the way. But on the Lakers side, the Lakers, when LeBron's on the court, is plus 61. And when he's off the court, they're minus 98. That is seriously not ideal if you're the Lakers. That's not something that you want going into the playoffs, because you essentially need LeBron to play 48 minutes in order for your team to stay afloat. That's what those numbers are telling me, because when LeBron is off the court, they are minus 98. Teams are outscoring them by 98 points. Obviously, these aren't directly box plus minuses. This is just a collective box plus minus. But still, if the opponents are outscoring your team that much when your best player, the oldest player in the league, is not on the court, that is a serious, serious problem, and one that is definitely not going to get overlooked in the postseason, because, as you all know, LeBron fans, they constantly always say that LeBron doesn't have help, which it's true. most of the time. But in this game, he did have help. But we'll see going into the postseason if that help is still there and is still consistent. But, with that, we are well over the time for the first segment. So I'm going to be right back after the short break where I talk about some of the participants of the 3-point contest. So once again, I'll be right back after this short break.